Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, it's New Year's Sunday, the first Sunday of New Year's, and there's so many comparisons to President Trump that's saving America today and President Ronald Reagan that saved the nation in the 1980s after Jimmy Carter. Well, with us today is Roger Zakheim, and he's the director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Well, Roger, I'm sure you have heard the comparison that Donald J. Trump and Ronald Reagan, and maybe we should cut 2 more spaces on Mount McKinley.
Well, I'm all for the discussion, and I think you're right the way you outlined it. It's wonderful to be with you, John. Thanks for having me back on. You know, the country, when President Trump came into office in January, a year ago, faced serious challenges, continues to face challenges, and I think the last time we were similarly situated, you have to go back to 1980, as you just outlined. And one of the great things that we've seen, certainly from the perch of the Reagan Institute in Washington, D.C., is the way President Trump has brought Ronald Reagan into the Oval Office. And by that, as you know, I'm talking about the portrait of President Reagan, which hangs prominently in the Oval. But also, I think President Trump constantly talks about it. He's seeking to do a lot of the things that Ronald Reagan did. And he talks a lot about peace through strength, John. President Reagan ran on peace through strength, delivered it, rolled back the Soviet Union, and won the Cold War. And President Trump is the first president since Ronald Reagan to run on that platform. And I think he's done a lot in his first year to advance peace through strength. And another area, which is a real parallel, which we could talk about, is tax cuts and restoring the strength of the American economy. President Reagan, of course, did that with his historic tax cuts and took on inflation and revitalized our national prosperity. And in President Trump's first year, he did the big, beautiful bill, made permanent those tax cuts. And I think there's another very important parallel on domestic policy between President Trump, his first year, and President Reagan.
And they both were I guess, got along with everybody. And they were tough. I'll give you similarities. Like President Trump, when he had the Chinese premier or the president at Mar-a-Lago, he was bombing one of their allies, and he walked over to them. By the way, we bombed, I forget who it was, and you could see the face on the Chinese president, Xi. And, I mean, Ronald Reagan would do that with faking out the Russians. And
Yep.
A lot of similarities. They were tough, and they knew how to play it.
Well, I think the similarity stands out in the area that you're describing, John, is both President Reagan and it's clear from President Trump that they believe America should be leading in the world with strength and that our adversaries should fear us. And President Reagan certainly did that by calling out Mikhail Gorbachev and the Soviet Union as an evil empire and challenged him to tear down that wall, even when they were negotiating over arms control agreements. And President Trump, I mean, he went out to the Indo-Pacific, he was in Japan, and he made it quite clear that America is a Pacific power, and that President Xi should not do anything to the free people of Taiwan. And he certainly made his strength, American strength, clear to the Ayatollahs in Tehran. In his first year, of course, a great accomplishment was Operation Midnight Hammer, when the U.S. military, or what President Trump calls the beautiful B-2 bombers, took out Iran's nuclear weapons program following Israel's strikes on the Iranian nuclear program. So, yeah, there are certainly similarities there in terms of America leading the world with strength.
You know what I'm worried about, Roger? That I think if President Reagan didn't get elected, after Jimmy Carter, I remember we had 17% interest rates, if people remember that far back. And our country was at the edge. And what happened now with President Trump got elected? If we would have gotten Harris winning, I don't think our country would have made the 300th year anniversary of our country.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many challenges swirling, and I think both in terms of foreign and domestic challenges, we're better off with President Trump in office. And as you're talking about with the challenge facing our economy on inflation, that has been an area that President Trump has focused on. He wants to lower those interest rates. He's talking about affordability, trying to break down the sticky pieces of inflation that still are saddling our economy. You know, there's a big debate over whether or not President Trump's tariffs are successful in working towards advantaging the American people and the economy and affordability. You know, President Reagan was certainly not somebody who led with applying tariffs. I'm all for them as it relates to the People's Republic of China, because we're in a competition with the PRC and President Xi, and it's not, they don't play fairly in the world of free trade. It's got to be free and fair trade. In that respect, I think President Trump is right to use it. I think with our friends and allies, perhaps he's employed that too much. If it results in reducing tariffs across the board, then I think we'll be better off for it. But there's no question in my mind that economically and from a security standpoint, we are absolutely better off a year later than we were at the end of 2024.
I agree 100%. Well, we should talk more often. And, you know what I worry most? They tried to assassinate President Reagan once. They tried to assassinate President Trump twice. And that's what I'm worried about the most.
Well, I have great confidence in our republic, John, and I worry about that. There are crazy people out there doing terrible things, contemplating terrible things. We've seen that throughout our history. But I have confidence in we the people. President Reagan had confidence in we the people, the wisdom of the American people. And I know President Trump does too. And please God, he will be safe and our country will be safe.
God bless America. Have a happy new year. And may we talk more often and try to accomplish something between the two of us.
Look forward to it, John. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me on.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.